Mayor Sandy Brown with the town of Orangeville. We're here for coffee chat this morning. I have with me today Councillor Debbie Sherwood, Councillor Joe Andrews, and Ruth Phillips, our Manager of Economic Development. Morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. So today's coffee chat, we were going to focus on small business, on some of the programs that various levels of government are providing for small business, and maybe doing a little bit of future thinking about what coming out of this crisis will mean for small businesses and how we'll all be able to support them going forward. So I'm going to start off with Mr. Andrews. Joe, you're the chair of BDAC, so you've been involved in the Chamber of Commerce and BDAC for many years. You have a good understanding of the businesses in Dufferin County and in Orangeville. And can you just give us a little background on what your thoughts are and about the current crisis and how our small business community is faring right now?
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Brown. And really, it is one of those impactful moments, not only in history, but one for our community and the business community. And again, I kudos to Ruth Phillips and her team with the EDC. They have been just outstanding in providing support. To really focus in on the matter that we're dealing with here, it is one that it is changing by the minute. I think that there is some form of comfort, but still some trepidation from the business community because they really don't know what they don't know other than what they've been provided, be that from the provincial and or the federal governments. Going back, weeks ago, I know that Ruth and I had this opportunity to have a chat, and really what it was designed to do was just to kind of give us an understanding of what we knew at that time, which, Ruth, as you recall, that I think that's got to be at least 3.5 weeks ago when we had that conversation. And my point was that I was hearing through a variety of different conversations through the business community. And some of it was, really just as we're having a coffee chat this morning, informal conversations of what business owners, small, medium, and some of our large business operators here in the town were hearing, be that from their suppliers, what they were hearing, be that from medical officials, and what their concerns were moving forward. In the capacity as the chair of BDAC, we have a great committee that are representing a variety of different sectors. And those sectors, again, have heard they've been impacted in different ways, with essential services, of course, being modified even as of late last week. Some were going by the playbook that they were given at the time, and then with modifications, it has suggested the way they're delivering their business activities. In a case in point, a couple of the operators in town, I spoke with, the owner of Home Hardware as an example, Buddy Pitt, who's also one of our BDAC members. And, the resiliency of his staff has been, of course, identified time and time again, their ability to adapt, but also as they are reflecting what's happening from a provincial government edict, they're having to modify now with curbside pickup, making sure communication is fluid to prospective customers. And again, when you have lineups that are out the door, for patrons who are wanting to come in, who still fall under that gray area of essential services, and I know Ruth may be able to provide a little more information in a few minutes, but I'm looking forward to some better times ahead. What's interesting, Sandy, and I was pulling a variety of information that all of us are privileged to receive. The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses had a report yesterday and talking about the different concerns that small business operators in the country are in fact highlighting. And I know Ruth and her team have put together a great survey to tap into our business community, and we'll have maybe a little bit of insight preliminary in our coffee chat here this morning. But what was interesting about this particular report was the fact that number one on the list was in fact the ability of small business to just pay their lease and or their rent in their facility, also supporting their customers. I look at some of the different businesses with the BIA as an example who have adapted very quickly to delivering some content and some service online, but not every single business in our community can do that. Some of the proprietors in our community are specialists in certain areas. I look at our food industry here, have had to adapt, but not every single one of them has been able to modify their operation to takeout. I look at some of the others, our automotive sector too as well, some of which, because of the dealer principles, were very clear they did not want to infect any of their customers nor their employees, so they basically have shut down, some of which are only open for emergency services, but other than that, everything is being done online. So I think that, to summarize, Sandy, we're looking at ways of supporting the business community as best we can. Again, the government has been very clear about the role that businesses play in this particular pandemic. And lastly, the most important piece is to remain safe, to ensure that we have social distancing applied, and we want to make sure that we get out of this as soon as possible. How long this recovery is going to take, I can only guess, but I'm hoping that if we do our due diligence as a society and work together as a community, we will see some great things, hopefully in a few months' time.
Great. Yeah, one of the the things I've been thinking about here is this now this crisis is a healthcare crisis. Before it started, the economy was percolating along pretty well. So that gives me some reason for hope that when this is over, that we hopefully can get back to some semblance of normalcy quickly. But you're right, some of those businesses on Broadway in particular, the clothing stores and some of the salons and things like that, I mean, they have zero income right now, unless they have some established online business going currently. And meeting rent and utility payments is a problem. So, Councillor Sherwood, you spent many years collecting taxes from not only residents but from businesses in town. So you've had some heart-to-heart talks with a lot of businesses over the years. It's not easy to run a small business. It's a struggle, and so really many of them, this is a great stress on their. So can you maybe share with us what the town has done to help with some of the penalty and interest waiving and such that we agreed to last week? Maybe you can share that with everybody again. You're muted. I think you're muted. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure, Your Worship. Thank you very much for including me in this coffee chat. It's a nice opportunity for us to reach out and share some of our thoughts and know that business is still continuing to run as best as possible. And I just want to give a quick shout out to our wonderful staff for keeping on top of the forever, daily, hourly changes. I look at the website developed by our team, and I'm very, very, very impressed with how much information and detail there is provided. So thank you, Ruth, and to all your team. Council, our first online council, our remote council, we made some really good financial measures that we hope are very beneficial, not just to the businesses, but to our residents. That being, we didn't actually defer taxes, but we did make it so that penalty and interest will not be charged for 3 months. Therefore, if it's hardship of not being able to make the April tax installment, there's an ease and sense of mind, that they can prolong that without being penalized in any way. One of the things that I do want to mention, being the council member on the BIA, is yes, we have a little under 300 small businesses along that small district, but surprisingly, over 60 of them of those downtown businesses are still hard at work. They've had to change their focus. They're not getting the foot traffic in, but they're still bringing great food to our doorstep. They're providing professional counseling and investment services now over the phone, or they could stream, and you could even stream an online class now to do music and art, or even a yoga class. So there's still opportunities there for some of our businesses to, still conduct, but unfortunately, not every small little business can, as Joe, you alluded, can do that. Like you can't, maybe necessarily purchase a clothing item or something. So there are other businesses that we have to really be mindful that they can't continue business as usual. So some of those measures will help out as far as not applying penalty on their water bill as well, too, right, Your Worship? And but I think, like I said, this is an opportunity for business to maybe refocus how they're running their businesses, right? Given the opportunity now we do know that, with magnet companies like Amazon, to be able to buy anything like a light bulb online, this is the way we seem to be going. And maybe this has just put that little push on a little small mom and pop's business to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, I encourage everyone to buy gift cards if they can, so that when, keep a little bit of cash flow for those small businesses going, and then we have something to look forward to when we get out of this pandemic, to go out and shop and use up some of those cards. But just want to let you know, there is still business going on as usual. Maybe not at the extent we're used to, but I think we can still support them as much as we can.
Great. As you were speaking, I made a couple notes here. I know we had a town hall meeting where we were focusing on small business. Councillor Andrews was involved in that. And there was some very good words from local business people like Rodney Huff and Chartered Accountant Louis Sappy. It was kind of, a time to reflect on your business, to take the time to really delve into it and to plan for the future. So many small businesses are just tied up in their day-to-day rush to get the doors open and do the business that day, that they don't have time for the long-range planning, which is so important for a successful business. So again, that was brought forward in that town hall that we had a week or 10 days ago. That there is some silver lining here in terms of forward planning for businesses. So I'm going to hop over now to Ruth Phillips. Ruth, thank you again. Some of the things that I've heard of is the government was providing some loans to small businesses. I think there's a $40,000 loan available. I think, if I remember reading properly, the up to $10,000 is forgivable. But for some of these businesses, coming out of this crisis isn't the time for them to be facing additional debt. And so as much as the loan can keep somebody going, when they get back to work, it's going to take a while to ramp up to get their sales up to where they were before the crisis started. So, some of these programs, I think small businesses will not take advantage of because of the fear of taking on more debt. But I'm going to pass it over to you. I know you've got some notes there, and maybe if you can share what your thoughts are about our local business community and how we can get through these choppy waters.
Would you like me? Well, first of all, thank you for including me, Mayor Brown. I appreciate it, and thank you for introducing this initiative, because it does provide us with an opportunity to provide our local business community with reliable information and legitimate resources. There's a lot of information on social media today. Some of it is, well, I'm sure well-intentioned, not always 100% accurate. So if I could start this morning by just sharing our go-to page for businesses and talk a little bit about the provincial and federal programs and guidelines that are in place. Maybe then we could go back and talk about what we're doing locally.
Sure.
Would that work?
Please, yes.
Okay, now I'm going to attempt to share COVID business resource page. Hopefully this works. I understand it's sometimes a bit of a delay.
Okay.
I'm not seeing that, Andrea. I'm not sure.
So how can one navigate to that, Ruth? It's orangeville.ca.
Okay, so yeah, I apologize. That doesn't appear to be coming up for us, so sorry about that. But these resources are available on orangevillebusiness.ca under the heading COVID-19 resources for business. And this page was just updated again on Monday. We're updating it constantly as programs and services become available. Also on that website is a 1-800 number that businesses can call on a variety of related to the grant programs available, but also the essential services. And I think Joe talked about that a little bit earlier. There's been some confusion, or there's a lot of gray areas with respect to what is an essential worker and what isn't. We updated this COVID business resource page on Monday. But basically, and focusing primarily on our community, essential services continue to include grocery stores, convenience stores, big box stores that are selling food as well. Beer and liquor stores remain open, restaurants offering takeout or delivery, pharmacies, gas stations, vehicle repair shops continue to operate. So although some of our car sales plants are not operating, the vehicle repair component of those services can continue. Laundromats, hotels, and veterinarian services for urgent care also remain available. As of April 3rd, some stores were restricted to selling their products only through curbside pickup or delivery, and those businesses include hardware stores and part supply companies, along with pet, office, and safety supply companies. So you'll have seen some shift since April 3rd there. Construction was also impacted by the more restricted listing of essential services on April 3rd. And essential health and industrial construction may continue, as can residential construction that was already underway or where a building permit was issued prior to April 4th. But certainly the increased restrictions as we try to fight this pandemic did impact the construction industry in terms of new residential builds, along with a multitude of renovation type of companies.
All right, very good.
In terms of programs, if you'd like me to just kind of touch on the major ones. As you alluded to, Mayor Brown, some of the more significant programs that have been announced by the federal government include the Canada Emergency Relief Benefit. This is a program that will provide $2,000 a month of income for workers who have lost their income as a result of the COVID crisis. The program will be in place for 4 months, and it supports workers who probably will not be eligible for EI. They can apply using a CRA account or by phone if they're not internet savvy. The Emergency Wage Subsidy Program has also been announced and is available to businesses. And this program provides businesses with the opportunity to bring back laid off workers or to maintain staff that they have in place now. It provides a 75% wage subsidy, up to a maximum of $847 per week. And this program will be in effect for 12 weeks, dated back to March 15th. You spoke earlier, Mayor Brown, to the Canada Emergency Business Account, and this is a loan program. It's a program that will ensure that small businesses, though, do have access to capital that they may need in the next several months to continue operating. And it provides up to $40,000 in interest-free loans to small businesses with payrolls of less than $1 million. businesses that are able to repay that loan by December 31st, 2022 will qualify for loan forgiveness of 25% up to $10,000. So I agree with you that, I'm a bit debt adversive, and business owners are going to be fearful of incurring more debt, but sometimes these things are required in order to stimulate the economy and get themselves back on their feet and get people back in place from a staffing perspective. The Business Credit Availability Program will also be of support to more larger scale businesses, and this provides access to funding through the Business Development Bank of Canada and Export Development Canada. And this is, we will be speaking more to this a little bit later on a workshop that we're going to be hosting with Joe in the next week. A number of income tax, health tax, and WSIB deferral programs have also been put in place. And again, all of the details, the links to these programs can be found at orangevillebusiness.ca under the COVID-19 resources for business page. And we are updating it continuously.
Great. So if we could scroll the calendar forward, say 90 days, hopefully the healthcare crisis is in the rearview mirror. Businesses are starting to reopen and getting back. So we've got some new communication tools that the town is working on. I know, Ruth, you've probably in many meetings about the new website, mobile app, and these type of things. And I'm wondering, with a mobile app, if a resident downloads that onto their phone, it would be a way that we could message out to people quickly, and also maybe offer some discounts to incentivize people to get back to small businesses. So just a couple of thoughts I
Absolutely.
had. And,
Your Worship, can I just ask Ruth a quick question?
Sure, absolutely.
One of the things I wondered, I know I had mentioned earlier that the orangevillebusiness.ca website contains multiple information for businesses. I know as far as the downtown Orangeville, the BIA, under downtownorangeville.ca, there is a list, quite an extensive list on their website containing all the downtown businesses that are open, and it's categorized into the type of business, what type of business it is, and that's updated so that people can go on and see that. I didn't know, does your Orangeville business site link to that as well? Because I know also DBOT, the Dufferin Board of Trade, their website lists the restaurants and businesses that are open throughout Dufferin County. But yes. One of the things that I was mentioning is, because we're able to, if online access using these nice little devices, we could say, is such and such business open, and it's nice to know we can go to those websites and see who is open for business. So it is open, right? It's on there as well, the link with downtownorangeville.ca.
Yeah. So to your point, Councillor Sherwood, and yours, Mayor Brown, in terms of the Economic Development Office, well, our office is close to walk-in traffic. We continue to be very much open for business. So we've had to take all of our services online. We've had to adapt and be nimble, just like we're looking for our small business owners to be. We've introduced a number of new technologies, teams, tools, things that we never used in the past to make sure that we continue to deliver service to our small businesses. So our staff continue to be available by phone, by email, to support our small business community, to help them to address questions, to help them navigate this COVID crisis and tap into resources that they're struggling with or needed more detailed support or information about. And staff are also available to field general inquiries and conduct in-depth consultations with our small businesses who are adapting to this new environment, and an environment that will probably change in the long term as well. So staff continue to be available with cash flow forecasting. They're there to support with business planning initiatives, marketing strategies. We'll make sure that our businesses have as much access to information as we possibly can. And we're really lucky in this community because we have a bank of very qualified business mentors who volunteer their time to our community and to our programs, who have skills in specialized areas. And we'll be tapping into those mentors as required, depending on the needs of our business community. And again, while we're not offering, we can't offer in-person workshops and events at the current time, we are hosting information about webinars that are available on COVID and just general business topics on our website that we encourage the public to take advantage of. And we're beginning to host these business panel discussions on a variety of topics. Next week, as I mentioned, Councillor Andrews will host a business panel discussion on financing, and it will feature the Business Development Bank of Canada, Export Development Canada, and the TD Bank sharing information about how to access funding for our entrepreneurs, because frankly, that is their number one concern right now. I've only had a chance to take a cursory look at our business survey results, but that's by far their biggest concern, and there'll be more information coming out on that as well. In terms of what can we do moving forward to support our downtown merchants and all of our businesses, Councillor Sherwood, as you say, we are keeping an up-to-date list all the time on our website of available businesses, services, downtown merchants, retailers who are available for online services, and we'll continue with that campaign. We launched Takeout Tuesday, so we push that program out to support our local cafes and restaurants and to give the public an opportunity and to encourage the public to support our downtown businesses as much as they can with that initiative. And we're also promoting businesses who have adapted their services and are providing more of their programs or services. Go Yoga, as you mentioned, is a good example of that. Who are adapting to provide their services online, and we're going to continue to see the need for that. So we'll need to adapt our services to online. We'll need to introduce more learning opportunities for these businesses to take advantage of the technology and tools that are available. But
Ruth, we're starting to run long here.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. I just think, we were trying to get a shorter meeting along here. I know that you and Councillor Andrews are going to be expanding upon all of this in your coming meetings. So I think what I'd like to do maybe is ask Councillor Andrews and Councillor Sherwood just for a few parting words, just support of the business community. Councillor Andrews, you'd like to start?
Absolutely. And again, thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Sherwood, and also Ruth Phillips for being a part of this coffee chat this morning. The points that Ruth had highlighted, there is so much information, and I think that, our business community is aware that we as a community, as a town, as a council, and as a town staff are in fact providing opportunities for as much information to be circulated to them. Sometimes it's overwhelming, and having them to rethink their business model can be very difficult. I think that the big question is, those that will survive through this COVID pandemic. The information I was sharing earlier in this coffee chat, the CFIB was talking about that 90% of the small businesses in our country are concerned about the return of the same level of business that you spoke about, Your Worship, earlier. We were in great times, as you know. Things were moving along very, very well in our community, our economy, I should say. And as a result, what happens is that you have a situation that people are in fact wanting to ensure that their businesses will survive. The resiliency and I think the commitment that so many of our small businesses in our community has been again outstanding. As Councillor Sherwood spoke about the BIA and the businesses businesses that have been able to highlight that they are open. To me, that ends up, highlighting their commitment to what's going on and what they want to do. They want to survive, they want to succeed, and they will. There may be some changes, as Ruth was highlighting. There may be some changes to their business activities moving forward, and hopefully your point, Your Worship, about hopefully seeing something in 90 days, that would be wonderful. My optimism is such as that, once we get through this, we are going to see a roar of activity in our community like we haven't seen, but there will be some significant adjustments to some of the business activity, no doubt, in the coming months and, in the coming years. So I look forward to next week's activity that Ruth has spoken about, and we will end up, of course, providing as much information as we can to the business community.
Very good.
Mayor Brown, could I just,
Yes,
just as a comment to Joe's, in addition to these businesses taking themselves online, being nimble and adapting, as an example of our community's resiliency and willingness to step forward and adapt to the changes and help out. Late on Friday afternoon, I received an urgent call from FedDev asking us to reach out to our local manufacturers with their capacity to support with PPE production. And within an hour of sending out that email, I had received 7 positive responses from our local manufacturers, indicating their capacity to retool and to contribute to the solution here. So I just found it it was a great example of resiliency that we're seeing in both our small and large scale businesses, and that's going to carry us a long way as we move forward with developing our recovery plan as an organization.
Right. It's interesting. You could sense the frustration in Premier Ford when certain PPE products were being diverted, and I think his statement was, never again. We're not going to be in a position where we cannot look after our own, and we're relying on other countries to provide certain critical care items for us. So that's going to be one of the changes that's going to happen. I hope that our federal representative and our provincial representatives of Parliament keep their ear to the ground in the opportunity that may come out of this, because I think there's going to be a lot of nationalism and bringing manufacturing back from other countries. I think that's not just going to be in the United States, but probably in Canada as well. We need to be ready to receive those opportunities in Dufferin-Caledon area to provide additional employment. So let's hope all that happens. But Councillor Sherwood, maybe if you'd like to say a few final words of support for our business community. Over to you.
For sure. Even though downtown Orangeville might look like a ghost town, and that's not just exclusive to our community, it's obviously Ontario, Canada-wide, worldwide. We want to rest assured to people that there are still business as usual happening in some cases. These are definitely difficult times that we're going through. It may seem sometimes to those small businesses or even to people themselves who are staying home and self-isolating that there's no end in sight. But I want to be optimistic that we can do whatever we can to keep getting through this pandemic, and then we'll come back stronger and better than ever before, and we'll lift those businesses back up. And I really am hopeful that once we get through all this, we can have a large community celebration to end the era of COVID-19.
100%. Right.
And shop and eat our hearts out.
Exactly.
Looking at the street celebrations too, I've had a number of neighbors, of course, adhering to social distancing, but they say, I think we should end up having one huge Orangeville street party in everyone's driveway. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We all are social animals, and it's been a very difficult time for most of us, not being able to greet our friends, visit with family, and even just talk to people on the street in the same manner that we were. But let's hope that is going to be something that will be in the past in the next few months. Let's hope and pray. But just one final word I want to say is Orangeville is the economic hub of Dufferin County and Northern Caledon. We're an above average community in terms of our affluence. I think we've got a great deal of resiliency, a community spirit here, and I think all of the surrounding rural municipalities, they come to Orangeville to do business, and that is what is not going to end anytime soon. And we're really encouraging all of the visitors that come into Orangeville when things do open up to come back and enjoy all of our events and our restaurant. The cuisine that's offered here is really second to none, and I'm sure we're all going to get back to a really positive and happy time in the next few months. So
And Your Worship, I want to personally thank you for hosting and having these types of events and letting the community know that council and staff are still here to provide as much information as we can. And I really appreciate Ruth and her team and Councillor Andrews and all the things that you're still even daily thinking, what can we do? What more? So I want to thank you for this communication tool. It's very, very appreciated.
Yeah. Well,
I also echo that.
Yeah, thank you. We're all working through, unprecedented times right now. We're kind of, calling audibles almost every day on what we're doing, but everybody is thinking about the end, and let's hope the healthcare professionals and public health professionals can signal the light at the end of the tunnel in the coming weeks, and we all can start to plan for the successes that we know are going to come in the near future. So thank you to everyone. Yes. So yeah, we especially want to thank all of our essential workers. I know Councillor Sherwood mentioned a number of businesses, but I drove around town, and I know people are going to be critical of me driving around town, but I needed to get a succinct list of businesses that are still going for council to reach out to and thank. And from pharmacies to and there's large and small pharmacies, grocery chains, there's insurance companies that have their doors closed, but they're busy working, and it's business as usual. So there's a lot going on in town right now, and we do have some current economics of business going on right now. So anyway, let's wrap it up now. Again, thank you so much. We'll do this again real soon, and all the best to everybody. Thank you.